Hello guys, this tutorial is about how to use coding to do IKFK Seamless switch, a feature that is, not that common in rigs, but some rig does have them, and it can come in handy sometimes. It's an advanced topic, of course, but it is also quite a good practice. So let's start doing that. The basic idea is we want to match IK's location to FK's location. We want to switch from FK to IK and vice versa. So we want the other way around. If we're in IK, we want FK, and we want to switch to FK, we want FK to match IK's location. So let's try that. I have this IK mode like this, and I want to switch back to FK without pop. That means I need my FK controllers, all those three controllers, to be matched exactly to where the FK's location is. Okay, so let's try that. IK to FK, and of course we need to import my CMDs as MC. Okay. Now to match IK to FK, all I have to do is grab the IK controller, copy its name. Okay. Sorry, not that. Want to match. We want to switch IK to FK. That means we want to match FK to IK. So let's go grab the IK controller. Let's do the shoulder first. Okay. Now the question is, where do we match this one to? Well, the easiest way, if your rig is all aligned properly, the easiest way will be you match it with the joint, because the joint is following the IK. So let's show the joint. So all you have to do is match FK's location to the joint location. That means we need to do a match transformation. So MC dot transform, matching the controller, which is FK controller, with the joint, which is this one. Okay, now if we do it 3 times and change their name to elbow and wrist, we're matching all 3 controllers to the 3 joints underneath them. Of course, we're not going to match it in the FK mode. So let's switch to IK, and if we run this command, what will happen is, oh, something is wrong. Let's see what it does. What does it say? It's not defined. Oh, they're not variables, so I need to put quotation mark there. It's very different compared to other language I'm used to, like C++. Normally you use variable or pointers even to represent stuff, but here it seems like string is always the name or representation of stuff. It's always string. Weird, but it works. So if you run this code and you go back to the FK, you see now when I switch between those two, they're not popping anymore. That's because I'm matching the FK's location to IK's location. Now the last step to make this entire workflow work, entire code work, is that you set the attribute of the .ty, which is the one we set it to back to 0. So we're switching the IKFK blend controller back to from 1 to 0. Let's try that again. Let's drag the IK to a location. Okay, and then maybe do some tweaking here. And then if you run this code, you see it's automatically switched to FK, and everything is all aligned, so there's no pop. Alright. So let's do some tweaking on the FK. And let's try how we can switch FK to IK. It's actually basically the same idea. So let's copy those two code, those 3 lines. Okay, let's paste them here. For those, let's just comment the top ones. You want to put a 3 quotation mark. That way you're 2, 3 quotation marks, and that way you're commenting everything inside of them. So those are all commented. Anyway, so this time I'm gonna match FK to IK's location, and we can also utilize the joint as a reference. So what I want to do is go grab the controller, okay, and then copy it as the wrist. Okay, we're matching it to the joint, which is okay. The elbow would be matched to the elbow, but this time I don't want to match its orientation, so rotation equals false. That way we're not matching the rotation, and we're setting the attribute back. Alright, now let's switch back to FK, and then if we run this code, we should be able to see IK snapped to FK's location. There will be no pop, and FK works exactly like what it's supposed to be doing. Alright, now to make it even more automatic, what we can do is we can detect the attribute of the IKFK blend, which is that. Okay, so if get attribute, see that get attribute, I'm getting the attribute of the getting the attribute of the controller, controller's translation y, which is the IKFK blend, and if it equals to 1, that means we're in IK mode, and that must means we're supposed to be switching IK to FK. This is IK to FK. Okay, and then else we must in FK mode, so we do FK to IK. Okay, that should be it. So let's try to run the code. You see, we'll be switching between IKFK, and there will be no pop. And of course, this requires you to be super consistent on the alignment between joints and controllers. Otherwise, it will not work, and you need more effort to do stuff, which is not that easy actually. Anyway, so let's learn some ways we can actually create a window to avoid writing this again and again. Okay, so let's create a new Python. Okay, import maya.cmds as MC. Okay, now what you want to do is create a window. So mc.window. Okay, the window will have a name. So before we run it, let's also create a name. So when or let's just call it IKFK window equals, let's put an ID there, equals IKFK window. Okay, now we can do is we can just put the IKFK window ID as the ID of the window. Okay, and then we can also give it a title. So T equals IKFK Seamless switch. Okay, and then we can show the window, which is this command. We're showing our window. We can just pass in the ID to tell it to show the window we just created. If you run that, it's going to create a window like that. It's called IKFK Seamless switch, and it has nothing. Alright, notice that we have a title here. We also have an ID. It's like every student have their name, but they also have their ID. And students can have the same name, but they cannot have the same ID. So the ID is unique for the window. Alright, so that is that is the basic of creating windows. And then what we want to do is give it some functionality, but one of the things you want to do is when you run this code again, you see there is an arrow called object IK window already exists because it's already here, right? If you close it, run this again, you see you can run it. But if you run it again, it's gonna give you that arrow. So you want to check if that window already exists. If it does exist, let's delete it and then recreate a new one. So to do so, we just need to check if mc.window, and we're checking our IKFK window ID, and exists equals true. If that equals true, then what we want to do is we delete that UI. So there's a command called delete UI. Okay, and we're deleting our window. Okay, if you run this again, it will just delete the original one and create a new one. Alright, cool. So let's give it some stuff. Let's try give it some text. So mc dot, let's call it fk text equals mc dot text. Okay, the text will have a text equals, just making sure the label, which is actually the text. So label equals let's just call it FK controllers. Okay, and then if we run this code, it gives you an error called there's no layout. What a layout is how the window layout its stuff. If you look at any window here, like let's say combine, you see it does have menus and those little open and close sub windows or sub layouts. So Maya has to figure out a way to know where to put stuff in. So it doesn't know how to align stuff if you don't give it a layout. So let's create a layout. Let's do a row column layout. Okay, and this layout we can define the number of columns equals let's say I want 3 columns. Okay, if you do that, then we have something there called FK controller, which is a text field. And let's also create a it's a text. Let's create a text field. So FK text field equals to mc dot text field, and then this time I'm gonna label it. We don't have a label actually. Let's do a text field. That way, you see a text field will be behind it. Now, of course, you can define a lot of things. There are a lot of flags you can define. I think one thing I want to give it is the width. I'll make it like 200 long. That way it's longer. Maybe I can make it even longer, 300. Okay. Now let's then create a button. So fk text field. Fk button will be equals to mc dot button, and this button will be labeled. Let's just give it 3 angle brackets. That way you have some button you can click. Now what I want to have is when I select all my FK controllers and then I click this button, that's gonna put all the FK controllers name into this text field, so we can store those information into it. But before we implement that functionality, one thing I want to make is I don't want the user to type in anything, so I can disable the editable of this text field, which is ed equals false. That way it's not editable. Something's wrong. That's not it's not the text field we're doing the that's not the text we're doing. We need to do that on the text field because I don't want it to be tweaked. So that equals ed will equals to false. Okay, that way it's grayed out, so you cannot change it anymore. Now I need actually multiple ones of this setup, so let's just copy and paste this actually 4 times. Okay, so I have 4 of those, and the second one will be the IK controllers. So this is named IK tests, IK text, IK text field, and IK button, and then join text, joined text field, and joined button. Okay, of course we can change the text to their corresponding name. So IK joined. Join is not controllers, so let's just call it joins. Okay, we can make them the same length. Okay, the last one is actually the controller attributes or blend attribute. That is controlling the blend of IKFK, which in our case is the translation Y of the controller, this slider here. So blend attribute text, and blend attribute text field, and blend attribute button. Okay, all 3 of those things. Now that will be equals to blend attribute. Okay. If you run this, now we have all those different things we can all the different names, but those buttons I don't think we need to change anything. And then eventually we need 2 more buttons. So let's call the first one switch button. Post mc dot button. Okay, this time a label will be equals to switch. And then we need a cancel button. Okay, and label will be equals to cancel. If we run this, we have switch and cancel. Alright. Now they're not the same size, which is because of the column layout, because that is being stretched a lot. One thing we can try is make the name longer too, so they looks more even. And it's really not a big deal though, unless you need more layouts, but that's not something I think is really urgent to introduce yet. So let's just keep it this way. Okay, switch and cancel like that. Alright. Now they're not doing anything yet, so how can we make those buttons do something? Well, we can give them command. Let's do the edit, the cancel command. To do so, we need to define that command first. So let's create a little label here. Okay, let's call it. Oh, we need 2 more. Just a fancy way of creating like dividers between commands to organize your code. So this is my methods. So everything underneath it is the methods. Okay, and you can also just put in some like creating window on the top. But anyway, let's actually do that just to make things super easier or clear to us. So this is create window, and that is the method of the window. So let's define a method. So def as define, which is the way you create functions if you're familiar with other languages. So define, we're defining cancel button, or let's just call it close window command, and you want to put to bracket or parentheses, to define to indicate that this is a function, and you want to put also a column there to indicate what's after that is the body. Okay, or let's just call it, this is the syntax creating a function. So what we want to do is close the window, right? So let's just do the MC delete UI thing we did earlier, or we can just copy it. Okay. You run this, the button is still not doing anything because we're not connect this command to that button yet. To connect those two things is very easy. Just go to the button's creation line, which is this one, where we create this cancel. Let's give it a more flag called the C, which is command, and we just need to put in a string with the name, also with the bracket, the parentheses behind it. That way it will find this command, this function, and run it. Okay, so now if you click the cancel, you see the window is being deleted. All right. So let's define more stuff. Of course, the next thing we want to define is pull the things into the text field, right? So let's say if I want to select all three of the controllers and I press this button, I'm gonna put everything into this text field. So what we can do is define in text field. Okay. Now this time we can actually give it a variable called text field to put in. So that way we can actually put in all different text field based on its arguments we put it in. A function can take arguments. The arguments means you can pass in something and to do something with that thing. Okay. So we can do something with the text field, the color passed in. Okay. So we can change all three by changing that name on the commands. Anyway, you'll see that in action. So what we want to do is first we want to see what we're selecting. So selection equals mc.list selection equals true. Okay, and then what we want to do is pull this selection into our text field. So text field, and this time we're gonna add it. Let's do the FK first. Okay, so FK text field, but oh, you know what, this time let's just use this text field to put in. Okay, so we're putting this text field, later on when we're doing the command, we're gonna make this equals to the FK text field. But anyway, we're just pulling the text, adding this text field. So editing equals true. Sorry, e equals true, and what we're editing is the text. The text will be equals our selection. All right, let's put it in, and then we can define the command here in the button. So this button will do that command. So C equals our new command here we just defined, but this time we're gonna pass in our text field, which is this one. Passing this as the variable. So this will be the text field we're tweaking here when we press this button. Okay, let's try that. If we press this button, you'll see might give you an arrow. The arrow tells you that expecting a string, but we got it. This is actually a list. Why it's a list? Because that's this selection we passed into text, right, is a list, because list selection returns back a list. So we don't want a list, we want a string. So how can we convert a list to a string? Easy way of doing that is you can create a character. Let's just use a comma this time. Okay, and then dot join. Okay, and that will actually put the comma in between every atom in this list, and then also convert them all into a string. So now if we run this and then press that button, you see all the controllers name are being listed, and there is a comma between all their names. Alright, now let's populate other commands. They're all the same command but with different argument. So this time what we're passing in is the IK text field. Okay, and then the last one we're passing in command will be equals to join text field. So that way we can pass in all three with different stuff. So that's the controllers, and that button will get in the joint. Okay, and then we can also select the IK controller and then put in the IK controller. Okay, so we have gathered all the information we need on the controller and joints. All the left for us is to get the attribute we need. Okay, so that actually need a new function. So define blend. Let's just call it that get selected attributes. Okay, or we can also just call it, you can call it whatever you want, but it's better to explaining what it does. So anyway, so how can we get the attribute we're selecting here? The first thing we can do though is we can do that. We can absolutely know the controller we're selecting. So blend controller will be equals to the selection, and of course we just need the first one. If you select multiple one, the other ones will be just ignored. So we're storing these controllers name into this, and then we also need to know the selected attribute. Okay, so to do so, let's just call it attr equals mc.channelBox. Okay, and then we're requiring the main channel box. Okay, and we're requiring equals true, and then we're requiring the selected main attribute SMA equals true. And because we can select multiple attributes like this, right? So it's actually returning a list. Let's just get the first one of the list. Okay. Then we can combine those two variables we created earlier, so that eventually the attribute we need is blend control attribute will be equals to blend controller, okay, plus a dot. Okay, I need a dot in the middle, and then plus the attribute. Alright, now we get the actual attribute and we set that into the blend attribute. So mc dot text field, we're setting the text field, which in this case is our blend attribute text field. Okay, we're setting it with our blend control attributes. So text equals that. Of course, we're gonna edit it. So e equals true, of course, and text equals that. Let's try this. Now, if you select the translation and then do that, oh, we're not even connecting the command yet. So let's put the command into the blend attribute command. C equals that. Okay, now if you press this button, oh, I got an arrow. Flag SMA. Oh, why am I putting quotation mark there? It's being stupid. So if you press this button, you see the attribute will be passed into the blend attribute. Alright, now we can now gather all the information we need, IKFK blend attribute. So now we can actually do the command, the last command we need to do for this button, which is the switch. Okay. So define switch. The first thing I want to do is gather some information. The info. Okay. The info we're getting is all the controllers. So FK shoulder control will be equals to, it will be equals to the first string, or the first string before the comma, right? In this string we put it into the text field. So how can we do that? Well, we can actually use a very simple function to get the first element of that string. We can actually convert that string back to the original list we get, which is its selection. So to do that, we want to do MC text field, and this time we're querying the FK text field, of course, and so query equals true, and we're querying text equals true. Okay, after that we're getting a string because we're getting the text, which is a string, and then you can just put in a point or a dot split. So you're splitting it, and you're using the comma to split it. That way it will split the string into a list, and will be split by the comma. Okay. If you put in 0 there, so we're getting the first one of the FK controller, which is the shoulder controller. Okay. Just copy this and paste it 3 times, so we can get FK elbow controller and FK wrist controller. Getting the second one and the third one. Okay, so we're getting FK now. Let's get IK, it's almost the same thing. So let's copy 2 rows of this. So IK elbow and then IK wrist. Well, depending on how you define the order of selection, I'm gonna use the IK elbow as the second one of the list. So you select IK wrist first and then elbow. So the second one is the elbow, the first one is the wrist, and we're querying the IK text field this time. Okay. And joints is the same thing, so it's just repetitive stuff. So we're getting joint, and joint shoulder, joint elbow, and then joint wrist. Okay, of course we're querying the joint text field. Okay, so joint text field, and we're querying it, and we're getting the 0, 1, 2. Okay, that's not 3. How did I make that mistake? Anyway, we have the joint controllers, and then all the rest for us to get is the blend attribute. Okay, that will be equals to the text field again, but because it is a string already, so we don't need to use the split or anything. We just need to query it. Let's see, the blend attribute text field is the one we're querying, so that, and query equals true, text equals true. That way we gathered all the information we need. Okay. Okay. Well, just in case we get those right before we move on. Okay. Let's print those things. Print in programming, you always want to check your progress and see if they're working before you move too long and you got a lot of bugs. IKFK is there, IK is there, and we're copying joint shoulder and joint wrist. So making sure that it works, otherwise moving right along after that will give you troubles. Anyway, we're printing those attributes we just got: 3 joints, 2 IK, 3 FK, and the blend attribute we defined. Anyway, let's copy the switch, and then we define the command on the switch button. So command will be equals our switch command. Run the code. Okay, let's select the FK controllers. Okay, the attribute to the blend joints. Okay, the IK order, as I defined, we select the wrist first and then the elbow to define the IK. And now that's the switch. And let's see how it prints. So that's FK controllers, 2 IK, 3 joints, and 1 attribute. So we got all the information correct. So those are not needed anymore. Now let's actually do the switch. So now if get attribute, like what we MC dot lowercase g get attribute, we're getting the attribute of the blend attribute. If that attribute equals 1, we're in IK mode. We do IK to FK, which is we do match transformations. Okay, we're matching transformation and we're matching the FK shoulder control to the FK to the joint of the shoulder. Just to copy that and paste it 3 times, and we're matching the 3 controllers, 3 FK controllers to the corresponding joints. So elbow and wrist. Okay, and then we set the attribute of the blend attribute. So set it to 0. Okay, now that's okay, and then else we're matching FK back to IK. We're doing FK to IK, right? So let's match the so making sure I have the right indentation because it's important. So we're matching the something really unique with Python is you have to, the scope is actually defined by indentation, which is weird. Again, I think that's actually makes the code looks beautiful though. Anyway, match transform here, and we're matching the IK elbow to the joint elbow. We're matching IK wrist to the joint wrist. Okay, the elbow matching, you want to also define rotation equals false. You don't want to match the rotation. And that should be the matching, and we just need to set the attribute back. Making sure I'm having the right indentation. Okay, we're setting the attribute back to IK mode, and that is it. Let's run the command. And then let's see if that's working. So let's grab IK again. Let's grab the controllers and assign them to those text field again. The order doesn't matter which one you assign first. That is the joints, and then IK controller, which is those 2. Okay, IK controllers, joints, shoulders, and that to switch. See, now it switches to FK mode, and you can drag FK, of course, and do some changing. Let's switch back to IK. Alright, it works perfect. So we can drag it to the shelf, so we can use it later. Now, because this thing is ask you about where the controller and join is, that means we can also do IKFK switch on the other side. All we have to do is assign the controllers again. So that is the join. That is the IK. Let's assign the attribute. Assign the FK. FK controller, IK controller joins, which is let's see. Join group here. Okay, that's the joins. And we can switch this too, and it will work with the switching. Oh, I did cancel. Sorry about that. So I need to reassign those things, of course. So it's one of the downside though. But I don't think I have much time to go deeper, and it should take me some time to organize my code and even implement more attributes. Like we can create a button like add to self. That would be nice. Anyway, so you see the controllers. Let's go grab the FKs. Okay, go back to IK and grab the joins. Shouldn't take much time though. And it's the switch. Now we're switching back to FK, and you can rotate FK controllers, do some tweaking, and then switch again. Oh, sometimes you have to be really careful of the limitations. IK have limitations. Huh. I think I switched the wrong thing. I'm selecting the wrong IK order actually. That's not the limitation of IK. We need to select the wrist first and then switch. Okay. So, but limitation though, what I mean is IK does have limitation. Like this kind of limitation if we switch back to FK, and then you bend the elbow all the way to the back. And if you do switch, it will not work properly because the IK will cannot actually bend it that way, so it will give you some trouble. So that's just the limitation of IK. Another limitation of IK is it cannot bend the arm this way. So FK in FKU sometimes the rigger lock those other two attributes because of that limitation. Okay, so if you do this and switch, you will have them pop too because IK simply cannot do that. Anyway, and in theory it should work on the leg too. So let's try this leg. That's IK controllers. Okay, that is the slider. You see now why the alignment is really important. If your alignment is all correct, then this setup will work. If your alignment is not correct, it may take you some time. Why I might keep clicking the cancel. So IK controllers is here. The IK blend, IKFK blend, and then IK controller, which is this one, and then joints. Let's see the side rig. I have the joints. I have my rig joint. You want to use the rig joints, okay? You have driver joints, of course, but you need to use the actual butting joint. Okay, I'll switch. All right, now we're switching to FK. Do some changing and then switch back to IK. Alright, works perfectly. Try switch back to FK. Alright. So that is it. That is IKFK switch. And also in theory should be working on other rigs. So let's try a auto rig that are really popular. Not in my file. Should be my USB drive. Let me get it. Okay. My drive. Rigging project advanced. Since I have the mirror rig here. Okay. Let's see if this one works on mirror rig, which it should be because as it's a nice rig, and I think the alignment there is also quite nice. So let's grab the FK controllers. That's the FK controller, and the blend attribute will be their IKFK blend. Okay, let's switch to IK, and then that's the IK elbow. That's the IK wrist, and that's the IK elbow. Okay, that's the IK controllers, and then okay, the joints is something tricky. You want to go find the joint. One of the easy ways could be you can grab the controller, and let's go to node editor and see its lower stream connections. I think that's the one. Let's go find it in the editor. So we have upper arm, lower arm, and then end. I think that end is actually a end joint, so it's not actually in charge. I think the hand joint is actually the one. That one is actually controlling the rotation of the hand or the wrist. So that's the joint. Upper arm, lower arm, and then hand. To switch, I see we can switch between IKFK. Okay. Alright, without any problem. Great. So this IKFK switch is universal as long as the rig you're using have perfect alignment between controllers and joints. This IKFK Seamless switch should be compatible of that. So that's one good thing about this UI we created, and with all the functionalities we implemented. One interesting thing about it is that that's the core function. And if you look at this entire code and look at the core function, the core function is actually very little, and all those things is just gathering information from the user. Okay. Alright, so I guess this is it, and I think it becomes much easier to do IKFK Seamless switch now because we have this match transformation functionality. Okay, this one, which is the new tool, and it's really convenient. It's much better than what we have before, which is the X form. Okay, mc.x form. Okay, because that one, if you query stuff, sometimes it gives the user the wrong result. You need to somehow compensate that using other ways. Never really works. But anyway, so that's IKFK Seamless switch, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.